Welcome, everyone, to the top of Mount Manitoba, the home of NotInHallOfFame.com, which also is the home of the fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. And you can go vote on that now, www.NotInHallOfFame.com/USA, where you can be a part of determining the first ever United States Athletic Hall of Fame class. Pretty exciting, isn't it? I think so. Here, and as part of the Buchnerverse, the Buchnerverse, it's another episode of How the Hell Was This a Hit? And Andrea, Tessmann.
I legitimately question this one.
Well, you're the one who picked it, so it's
And how the hell is this a hit?
Well, Kirk Buchner, Andrea Tessmann, and Brad Nelson. Wait a minute, Brad's not here, man.
Dave's not here, man. No, man, it's Dave. It's me. I got the stuff.
We are looking at it's not the first comedy record to be a top 10, but it is, I believe, the highest rank. This was a hit. I think when I was telling a lot of people about this, they didn't remember that this was actually a hit, but it was number 9 in the United States, number 4 in Canada, and apparently in Chicago, very, very big, as part also in Los Angeles. It's Earache My Eye by Cheech and Chong or Alice Bowie, who you can vote on in the fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It's true. Alice Bowie's in there.
Well, they're not in there yet, but they are.
And
you could
orange hair.
You could. So Cheech and Chong. Oh, there's Winnie. Winnie's not here, man.
Hello, Winnie, my old friend.
So I was trying to think about this a lot. Now,
Oh God, you don't have to.
Why
you
not?
can't think about this a lot. This requires negative IQ points.
Okay, well then I guess I wasted some brain cells on this.
Yes.
First thing I misremembered is when, like, I saw the movie, right? I never listened to any of their comedy albums before, so this was an Up in Smoke, the first film they did in 1978. So when I first looked this up and saw that it was 1974, it's like, eh? But it was part of the Wedding album, one of 3 albums that they did that went to the top 5 on the Billboard chart. So it's really interesting. Nowadays, a comedian will have a Netflix special. Back then, you're putting out an album, but that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to look at their contemporaries, Cheech and Chong, in the early 70s. Again, they really came out in the late 60s when they met in Canada, when Cheech was a draft dodger. Don't blame him.
Mm-hmm.
Met up with Chong, great Canadian.
Tommy Chong, man, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
Man. Yeah, man.
When I first saw him working in that camera store on that 70s show, I was blown away.
There's a lot of people who that's the first time they ever saw him.
Oh yeah, and first time people saw Cheech Marin was in Dusk Till Dawn. A lot of people.
Well, yeah, but he was.
What was the Buddy Cop show he was in?
With Don Johnson or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, Nash Bridges. That's
the one.
He was in Golden Palace, that featured 3 women that Brad would like to have been intimate with.
Oh, did they all look like Betty White?
Well, one of them was Betty White.
Oh, yeah. It's not that I got a thing for older women. It's that Betty White oozed such charisma. And she don't you disparage our rotting Betty White.
I think the rotting's already done.
Yeah, possibly.
She's
However,
probably not oozing much anymore.
That's true, but still, she oozed it. She had that charisma. She was fun and dirty. Anyway, we could go on about a whole podcast about my love of Betty White.
We could, and I think we have.
Probably.
I think if we put together all of the time we've wasted talking about Brad's obsession with Betty White,
it'd be an omnibus that we could possibly do.
Got to do a supercut.
There you go.
That's right, supercut.
But backing up in the early 70s, when you look at who was there in terms of comedy, there wasn't a whole lot. Comedy didn't really explode till many, many years later. So who are their contemporaries?
At that time, I would have put the beginnings of Dr. Demento. Bill Cosby was putting out comedy records right around that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he already had
Really?
for a
George
while.
Carlin?
George
Uh,
Carlin, yeah.
did Carlin do records?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Okay, good. I know Lenny Bruce put out at least one or two records.
Wasn't he already dead by then?
I think so,
Yeah.
yes.
I was gonna say Lenny Bruce was earlier than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're talking contemporaries and the fact that they're releasing their material on vinyl, then you know those are the people you're looking at.
One of the great comedy shows hadn't started yet in Saturday Night Live. So
Yeah. Oh, McLean and McLean.
Okay. As long as we're not saying Wayne and Schuster, because they were never funny. Canadians
This is
sort of
true.
understand this.
But yeah, you've got that. You've got the beginning of Dr. Demento. You've got I want to say, I don't know if the Frantics were more 80s up here in Canada, because the Frantics were Four on the Floor. And then they were the Frantics. They became Four on the Floor.
Four on the Floor were in the 80s, from what I remember.
Yeah, so it might have been the Frantics might have been late 70s then.
Yeah.
Or early 80s.
So this is basically a genre that is not overloaded.
No, so right now you don't have this kind of humor hitting the mainstream. Like Cheech and Chong were notorious for their stoner humor. And the idea behind that was, you had the great duets of the past, say Goodnight Gracie, George and Gracie, Yeah, exactly. And she never said Goodnight Gracie. She just said goodnight.
Really?
But yeah. Yeah, it's one of those Mandela effects going on there, in that everybody thinks that she said goodnight, Gracie. So anyway, you had the duo acts before, and those weren't
Lewis.
Yeah, those weren't unheard of, but for them to break ground as a stoner comedy kind of thing, coming up in the counterculture, you got a draft dodger in the group here, and these guys smoke a lot of weed, even though it's illegal. So they're releasing their stuff like this. So I've got to give massive props to Cheech and Chong in general. However, this bullshit that we're going to talk about today, this Earache My Eye, great concept, fantastic idea, horrid song.
It's no Basketball Jones.
It's no Basketball Jones. And I mean, Twisted Sister came along, took the idea of it, and made it way better in the 80s.
Well, okay, what idea are we really talking about? We're talking about basically a kid that doesn't want to go to school, voiced by an early 30-year-old stoner.
Yep.
Because they would have been in their early 30s, and Cheech looked old right away. So
Cheech always looked old, though, man. Cheech looked like he's basically Yoda.
Tommy John, that's a picture. Tommy John came out of the womb at 40, and he still looks 40.
Oh man, he looks a little older now, man.
Wow.
He looks like a rough 40 now, whereas he looked like a young 40 before.
Well put.
This either way, it's sort of complementary, I believe, is what I'm trying to say anyway.
Yeah, because what is he, like 70, 100 now?
Something like that.
Roughly.
Well, his daughter Ray Dawn Chong's in the late 50s, so like going back to an earlier thought show that we had, that she would have been part of that. But anyway, I'm not going to go into the details of that misbegotten program that was let's just say a failed pilot here in the Buccaneers, which might be a good idea. Moving on.
Moving right along.
There you go. I know how to set up these T-balls now, Brad.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hey, I need a T-ball because I need all the assistance I can get if I'm going to smack that thing to first base.
No.
That's how you do it, right? You hit it to the first base guy?
Whatever works.
Okay.
When they call it, like, what they keep calling him counterculture, to me it didn't feel very counterculture-ish. This was an album. This came from an album that pretty much every sketch was meant to appeal to somebody if you're 14.
But that's the thing, they were counterculture, they were
comedians, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's stoner comedy, which I used to partake in that on a regular basis and find it very funny. It's weird, though, that you got to be a little stoned to get it. Okay, you got to be really stoned, and then it's fucking hilarious.
All right, so the song particularly, do we want to look at the lyrics here of this or not?
Do we need to?
Well,
Because
kind of do.
the sooner I can drink this memory away, the better.
All right, well, this part of their track, it's half song, half sketch, only 2 minutes long. But it's because the fictitious band is named Alice Bowie. There's a lot of Bowie influences here. Uh, One thing I did like, but didn't like at the same time, the guitar work on this by who was the gentleman who did that? Another Canadian,
Oh, hang on, I've got it sitting here.
Gay Delorme,
There you go.
name. So he always mentioned a lot of work doing session work and a lot with Cheech and Chong. I assume they met in Edmonton because that's where he's from. So it is for 74 a pretty powerful guitar riff.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a great idea, like I said, behind the song. And then the controversy that followed it was, I think, what rocketed it into
Absolutely.
cult status.
Absolutely. Because I mean, like the song itself to me isn't that controversial compared to a lot of other things.
Mhm.
But maybe there's something I'm missing here. All right, so lyrically, my mama talking to me, trying to tell me how to live. Da, 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 da. But I don't listen to her because my head is like a sieve. Dun, 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 dun. My daddy disowned me because I wear my sister's clothes. He caught me in the bathroom with a pair of pantyhose.
You gotta fight, boom, boom, for your right to party.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
So same time frame though. You've got Bowie out. Kiss comes out in 74. There are other groups trying to sort of like push that. Go ahead, Brad. What do you?
Quick little aside on Kiss. The best description I ever heard of Kiss was 2 words: kabuki rock.
Okay, yeah, I've read that. Yeah, no, there's absolutely something to it.
Yeah.
But you had a lot of people, a lot of men trying to like blur the lines between what they thought was androgynous. From what I can tell, none of them actually were. Maybe Bowie was, but
Well, I mean, why do you think they went with the name Alice Bowie, right? Because
exactly
you've got these 2 artists who are gender bending a little bit.
And Alice Cooper, which
Yeah,
was
exactly
massive at that point in time.
Yeah. And so you've got actually, okay, fun little Brad tidbit of trivia, which nobody ever has to remember forever. The first time I ever saw Alice Cooper was on The Muppet Show.
Hey!
Yeah, and he did Feed My Frankenstein on The Muppet Show, dude.
I think my first Muppet Show memory, I was frightened because I was still like a little 4 or 5 year old. It was Elton John, and it was Crocodile Rock.
Oh yeah,
and there was crocodiles. I thought they were gonna eat Elton. I just
Mhm.
figured out who he was, and now all these crocodiles are gonna like get rid of
I
Elton.
still remember when that big hulking Muppet with the big jaw that came out ate a guest, and I'm like, oh, because everything you see on TV is real, right?
Absolutely, just like in the
So
internet.
imagine my surprise when she came back in the next skit.
How did well? I mean, the magic of television. Well, they shot it. They shot it before.
Oh, is that? See, that's not how I. Hey, I spent. This is how stupid I am. Okay, I spent a great deal of time, probably better part of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, looking in the 8-track player to try to see how they got the radio announcer in there.
Well, some people are little. I'll leave it at that. My basketball coach, he kicked me off the team for wearing high heel sneakers and acting like a queen. The whole world's coming to an end, and I don't have any care as long as I can have a limo and my orange hair. Homage to Bowie.
Yeah, exactly.
In his Ziggy Stardust phase. I don't bother me if people think I'm funny because I'm a big rock star making lots of money, and then just money, money, and what, which is essentially them saying, yeah, they're doing this just to make some cash. It wasn't Which is what a
100%.
lot of them were doing.
Yeah.
If we look at, I mean, beyond that, there's really nothing. There's just one more verse, which isn't all that interesting. The controversy that came is just because they're Cheech and Chong. I mean, this lyrically, we're not even talking about anything that is that provocative, especially like from even that era.
Exactly. But then because it is counterculture and it's talking about skipping school and disobeying your parents and all this other stuff, there starts to be a big pushback towards it. And what was it? They had, oh, I've got it here. Oh yeah. Once the song hit peak on the charts, radio stations basically pulled it, especially the AM stations, who were always notoriously more conservative than FM. FM was trying to break some ground, and AM was, your conservative folks listening to that. Yeah, so they're talking about how it was terrible and what have you, and that's where we get into that controversy. And I imagine Andrea has a bit to talk about on that.
You picked this song.
Yeah.
This song is terrible. I regret picking it. For once, I'm actually sorry that I wasted all of our time on this.
No, because how the hell did this be? How the hell was this a hit?
No, it's a great thing, but it goes back to a theme we've had before. If you tell people not to listen to something, if you tell people not to look at something, what do we want to do?
Okay, when Two Live Crew
do not push this button.
Push.
Yep.
Two Live Crew comes out. They got nasty as they want to be and clean as they want to be. Which one sold more?
And yeah, and I've had this argument with one of my good friends that just absolutely loved them back in the day, Two Live Crew. And I said, like, they're awful. Oh, you think they're dirty? No, it's not because they're dirty. Just they're not very good.
Two Live Crew?
Yeah.
Fuck that, dude. They were great. They were exactly what they were supposed to be. They were taking the piss out of hip hop culture at that point in time.
You were giving them way too much credit.
Really?
Really?
You don't see the sort of what do you call it? The way that they were sort of subverting expectations in that, like the whole me so horny thing, whatever. But then you got like songs like Sex Packets on that album and stuff like that, and they're taking the piss out of it.
I think that's just what they were thinking about at the time. You're giving them way too much credit.
Maybe I am, but I'll stand by my opinion and I'll respect your right to be wrong.
Not the first time I've heard that in this show.
Well, if you'd stop being wrong, I'd stop saying it. So it hits that controversy where radio DJs aren't even allowed to mention the song. They are threatening to fire people who play it or mention it on the air. It hits massive controversy, and now, because like you were saying before, Kirk, if you can't talk about it, if you're not allowed, if suddenly something is verboten, I want it more.
Well, and especially the demographic that they're going after, which is the teenage stoner.
Teens and early 20s, absolutely. They're straight at that, and the controversy did nothing but fuel a desire for this song.
And that album, which did very, very well, and probably leapfrogged them into an eventual film deal.
100%, and I mean, Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke, all that other stuff, it was the stuff that they did. Not my bag, but I get it. And I mean, it's quotable, dude. I mean, like, just starting off the podcast, Dave's not here, man.
I bet you there's a ton of people who know that quote and have no idea where it came from.
Oh, quite possibly. Anybody named Dave has heard that so many times.
That's very true.
But are these the Daves you know?
These are the Daves I know.
Some of them are David.
Most of us are Daves.
Yeah.
They all have their own hands, but they come from different moms.
Kids in the Hall, everyone.
Yes. Before Brain Candy, we had them on cable TV.
Yes. Yes, we did.
But yeah, I agree with you. There really is nothing that's that controversial about this song versus
No.
any other. And I think the controversy comes from it being them.
Yes.
From it being them, from it just, that was a controversial group. It was not. If you were a 40-year-old person, do you want your 12-year-old kid listening to this? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Go listen to something more wholesome like Bill Cosby.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's fast forward a few decades and see who's in trouble and who's not.
Well, to be fair, all three of them are out of jail right now.
All three
For
of
different
whom?
reasons.
Yeah, but was Cheech ever in jail?
Oh, I'm sure he was picked up for
Tommy
carrying.
didn't do much time, if any. I think he was picked up. Cheech, I don't think he was ever incarcerated for any amount of time. And now Tommy has got a fantastically profitable weed business.
Mm-hmm.
And who better than him to sort of like be the face of that?
Dude is perma-fried, man. I mean, he's smart.
I'm sure he never put a penny of his own money into it either. I'm sure it was entirely he was solicited to be the face of said company.
It may well be, but he operates it out of, well, he started it out of his own home.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg also has a very profitable weed company.
Well,
He does, and he has a very well-paid hand or a blunt roller.
Didn't Keith Richards go into booze or something?
I don't know, man, but whatever Keith is drinking, I should get me some of that.
Why, you want to look like a 90-year-old grandma?
Dude, he's a 90-year-old grandma who should have been dead eons ago.
That's true.
Fair.
Like he has done everything that has killed everybody else before him. Like people say, man, after a nuclear war, it will be cockroaches and Keith Richards, and that's who's going to be left.
You ever see like the picture of Dorian Gray or read it?
Oh yeah, yep.
You think there's a picture in an attic somewhere of him?
Not a picture. I think it's just actually the liver.
The liver of Keith
Like all the
Richards.
insides.
It's the liver of
The insides, because I mean, externally he's certainly aging.
Yes. Yeah, and there's just a poor little liver in a glass case somewhere in his attic screaming.
MRI of Keith Richards.
Just, I mean, that's the only thing that can really explain it. He's going to be the last Rolling Stone left.
Beauty and the Beast had a rose that lost petals. This liver is just shriveled in this little case. Oh, it's not wrong, man.
I just watched, actually for the first time ever, Dave Chappelle's Block Party. And in it, Chappelle says that every comedian wants to be a musician and every musician wants to be a comedian. I never really thought that, but, well.
The biggest argument is you can't get up on stage unless your name is Bert Kreischer. As a comedian, you can't get up on stage and go over your greatest hits. Whereas a musician likes the novelty of here's some new material, but everybody always comes for their greatest hits.
I know I'm going to be pissed off this weekend if Aqua doesn't play their hits and starts playing some bullshit new music.
Wait, first off, you're seeing Aqua. That's the first red flag. Red flag number 2.
Well, that's at a festival, though, isn't it?
It is. I'm not.
Plural.
What?
Used hits in plural.
Oh, because come on, there's at least 2. There's Barbie Girl and Mr. Jones.
And Candyman.
And Candyman.
Oh,
yeah.
I
am the Candyman.
It's part of a festival lineup, including Shaggy. I'll have you know.
It wasn't me.
Who wants to pay for the tickets? It's not me. Who else? Okay, well, let's hear this great all-star lineup.
Somebody once told me the world. No, that was all.
Smash Mouth was a few years ago at it.
But he said all-star, and so I was thinking, hey, now you're a rock star.
Right, let me take a guess here. Let me take a guess here. Chumbawamba.
I get knocked down.
That would be amazing.
Is that? Am I right?
No.
Okay, did any of you guys listen to Chumbawamba's actual album, like the full album, Tub Thumping?
No, I would have. No.
It was really good.
I tried to, but I got knocked down.
But get up again.
All right,
Yeah.
so some of the notable artists are Missy D,
Who?
Classified.
Okay.
There's some local people that I know that you might not. Portugal the Man, Kanan.
Okay.
And then 1 second. Third Eye Blind. Biff
I want something else.
I wanted something else every time I heard that of them play.
Naked. And Biff Naked.
Oh, Biff is awesome.
Yeah. And
You know,
Vinyl Richardson, I'm
I
pretty
thought
excited
she was
about. 'Cause-
dead.
No, Biff is.
No, she was very close. She had like real bad cancer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, she pulled through and survived and is
See,
touring
I
with
would
them.
love to see not just a cage match between Biff and Pink, but I would also like to have like a cuddle party with them.
I think they're both badass. I think they'd probably be pretty good with each
So
other.
like Biff, Pink, and Lucy Lawless and me in just a big old cuddle puddle.
I figure out your type, and then Betty White throws everything right off of that.
But no, Betty White would cuddle like a motherfucker, man. I don't care what you think.
Granny cuddles.
I've never
Oh.
thought of her cuddling ability.
Oh yeah. You get
Come on.
your head in between those old lady titties, and it's gonna be the most comfortable place you ever put your head.
No.
Memory
First off,
foam's got nothing on
look,
that.
first off, if I'm going old lady titties, I'm resurrecting Mrs. Garrett. Girls.
Oh my god. She had huge boobs.
I
That
know.
would have been so comfy.
She was only 50 when that show started.
Right, but she seemed like she was like about dinosaur age.
That is true.
Yeah, but the same goes with the Golden Girls. They weren't that old.
No, they were our age.
No, they were all older. We checked this out.
They were in their early 50s.
They're in more their late 50s. Do we need to go back through this again?
We did go through this, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Anyway, they were still not nearly as old as they seemed to.
Well, what this has to do with Cheech and Chong, I don't know.
No, because what we want to do is take our focus away from the shitty song and onto good memories of old lady titties.
Oh, Bradley. Cheech and Chong. Yeah, the song name came from the skit where he's like, I don't want to go to school, I got an earache. And the dad's like, earache my eye, do you want an ass ache?
Yeah.
I think he said butt ache, not ass, but still.
I don't know.
But I mean, really, if this podcast went, or this episode went up in smoke, I wouldn't be sad.
But
they passed on Stripes.
Did they really?
Yeah.
On Stripes, the Bill Murray classic?
Yes. That was offered to them first, apparently. I don't know if it was offered to them first, but yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I can't imagine it would have been a totally different.
Yeah, I saw Ivan Reitman on a talk show once, and he said that they said that the Cheech came to him and said that was one of their biggest regrets, is that they didn't do Stripes. Which I can't see it.
No, I don't know where they would have fit.
As long as you still have John Candy there, it still would have been good for me.
Yeah, John Candy, Bill Murray.
And Cheech and Chong. Well, I guess Cheech and Chong would have been Harold Ramis and Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't have Bill Murray in it.
Oh, yeah, no, it wouldn't have been as good.
Bill Murray at that point looked already too old to be joining the military.
But Bill Murray was born at 38.
Born at 40.
Yeah, well, it's like someone pointed out during the last Oscars that Bill Murray is younger than Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, but Samuel L. Jackson is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep, and he is
That man
always
just doesn't age.
he's going to be a bad motherfucker till the day he dies.
Shut your mouth.
I'm just talking about Sam.
All right, let's just wrap this in a bow.
I gotta say that I have fond memories of Cheech and Chong from my youthful lost days. And I picked this song because of those fond memories, thinking it might be kind of funny, but even if it's not like funny, haha. No, I didn't expect it to be this terrible. So I'm sorry, but I feel it was in the true nature of the program of how the hell was this a hit?
And
Yes.
we figured that out. Do we find out what we've got next time?
We did. And
Right.
I combed the decades. And I went back. I started off more recent, and I was looking at some more recent stuff. And I'm just like, no, you could ask this of many songs that came out after 2010. How the hell did this become a hit? There's a lot of songs out there. So I decided to go back into my favorite decade.
The
The
70s because of disco.
Andrea, this is why we can't have nice things. Because you keep on saying words that hurt me like that. No, actually, we're going back to 1983, 10 years after I was born. We're going to look at men without hats. I'm going to do the safety dance. Yes.
I like the safety dance.
F, F, F.
Yeah, exactly. So
Why?
the best thing about it, and if the people watching or listening would like to do some research alongside of us, you can go back and watch one of the best music videos of all time, which is Men Without Hats, Safety Dance, having a Ren fair.
That sentence has never been uttered.
For no reason.
They don't dance particularly well.
But they can dance if they want to, Kirk.
If your friends don't dance,
And if they don't dance,
they aren't no friends of mine. But in Brad's version, if your friends don't pants, then they are friends of his.
yes, because I like no pants. I'm currently wearing pants, but very shortly I will not be because it's getting warm in here.
Is it getting hot in here? So
I'm going to take off some of my clothes. I am getting so hot, I'm going to take my pants off.
you know what's a good thing to do when you have your pants off?
Dance off.
No, read. Read a
Oh.
book that I wrote called Chavo Guerrero Instant Classic. You can get that on Amazon.
How did you write a book if you can't even read?
You know what? It is prime sit by the pool or on the beach and reading season. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So that's something you can do if you want to help support the Buchnerverse.
And Canada Day is coming up this weekend as we're recording this, but probably not as you're watching this.
Probably not.
So it makes a great Canada Day present to your favorite Canadian.
Absolutely. And for next Cinco de Mayo.
Ooh, yes. Well, wait, that's a year away.
I was born in
Be
Mexico.
prepared.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Keep a couple on hand for like Rosh Hashanah and whatever other random holidays come up. Just throw them out.
I thought we already covered that song. Oh, that was My Sharona, not Rosh Hashanah.
I tell you, you're such a
Yes.
bench.
There's other shows in the Buchnerverse, a bunch that's waiting to go up because I still have to like add a bunch of images, but I'm getting there. That includes the classic sports review, a look at Super Bowl VI. Andrea actually correctly picked the winning teams. And yes, that might have been 50 years
really
ago.
Impressed.
It really was impressive for her to do so. I can't wait to see if she could do it for Super Bowl VII.
Probably not.
That was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Idaho Potatoes.
Well, one of those teams don't exist and the other one didn't exist in 72. But other than that.
Wait, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are actually a thing?
Yes.
I made that up. I thought I made that up. Maybe I just pulled that out of the gray matter somewhere.
Something got lodged in there at some point.
It's very rare that anything gets stuck in the colander or the sieve, as the case may be, talking about our podcast previously.
Because your head is like a sieve.
Yeah. Yeah, on occasion, a big nugget will get caught in there, but that's really about it.
Well, that's going to be coming up soon. We're going to be also, with Glenn Pulowski, we're going to be looking at roller games.
Roller games.
Yeah, because that one's going to be our next one. We'll probably record that in a couple of weeks. On the
You got to go back and do roller ball in the future. There is no war. There is no famine. There is only roller ball.
I might watch that film again just for that. But roller games had a live alligator. That was pretty cool.
Well, how can you go wrong?
Didn't you guys want to be a part of that? Well, Andrew, you said you would. Brad said
Yeah,
you would.
maybe. Well, Chat, let me know when you're recording.
All right, I shall. So that will be good. I'm sure Glenn will enjoy having a special guest. We also have another great show that I do with Vinny Laspinusa, where Vinny makes the Hall of Fame case for. We just recorded one where he makes the Hall of Fame case for Don Cherry.
Is there
Interesting.
a reason to make a case for Don Cherry?
There's a lot of reasons to make a case for Don Cherry.
He has lapels and he's an asshole. That's the two things I know about him.
Those weren't the two reasons that Vinny came up with.
Okay.
But it's a nice little show that we've come up with.
Yeah.
People who actually I thought it was only the one, but Vinny reminded me the other day that there's actually been two relatives of people he's made cases for that have reached out to him.
Okay.
So no, Don Cherry, I can easily make a case for Don Cherry just by one basic fact. In 2004, when CBC put out their 100 greatest Canadians, he was number 7.
But was that because of him as an athlete or him as a commentator?
Him as a commentator. As an athlete, I mean, like, he was an average hockey player who, if there was 12 teams instead of 6, he would have had maybe a 5.
But are there other commentators in the Hall of Fame? Like,
Are there other commentators who had a Rock'em Sock'em Hockey videotape?
Well, to Andrea, yes. To Brad, no.
Not exactly. That's why he got bumped up there. Rock'em Sock'em Hockey.
Oh,
that's a terrible hit. I like it.
I used to get those at Christmas.
Yeah, you did.
Of course I did. But it was great.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot. We did a whole deep dive into Don Cherry and sort of like the whole thing. I threw in my theory as to why he was really fired, but that's another story for another time. But you'd have to listen to that on the Buchnerverse.
Because they were trying to get rid of him, he wouldn't leave. The Alzheimer's had kicked in too hard, and they had to make him go away.
No, I went with something else as a theory.
Oh,
but that's not there here nor there. This is sort of a cliffhanger. This is so people want to go and see what I have to say.
Oh, listen to the other podcast and
right
out Kirk's theories on why Don Cherry was really fired.
It's also right up there with how once and again, WNBA, make me the commissioner, and I will save your sport. I will make your sport possible or profitable.
I say let them have knives.
That could be one thing. And I'll tell you what, if I get this job, I'm going to hire the two of you.
Yeah.
Your job will be to stop me from saying things that are too stupid.
No, I cannot be the voice of reason in any room. If I'm ever the voice of reason in a room, I have to leave the room.
Well, no, you're hired because you're my first buffer. In case something really bad happens, I can say, well, what was his idea?
Oh, okay. I'm the sacrificial lamb.
Yes, I figure I got a couple of those.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're the only person whiter than me that I know. So like that way, I think that could work easier.
Well, I am a whiter shade of pale.
Retrieve the light, Fandango. I don't know the rest of the words, or even if that was how that
Turn cartwheels across the floor.
Was that okay?
I was feeling kind of seasick.
And it could have been the whiskey. Might have been gin.
That's not the song, but yeah, we can go with that.
Could have been 3 or 4 6-pack. I don't know, but look at that. All right, this is going off again.
All right, you friggin' weirdos.
Probably time to put this train to bed because it's fallen so far off the rails.
Again, yeah. All right, well, it'll happen again next week too. With that, wherever you are, wherever you may be, we bid adieu from the Buchnerverse.
Adios.
Good night, everybody.